a few minutes to share with you guys this morning. It's a really big privilege for me. And I want to say it's a privilege for me to see you guys every year and to see all the growth and the change and the spiritual development and also you guys just becoming the young people that you're meant to be and who God's called you to be. So just saying it's a privilege to be part of you guys' life and to be here. So what I want to talk to you today is about bear traps. And it was kind of fun to be here in Gatlinburg and have this whole mountain. I mean, come on, we're used to living below sea level, so we're in a whole different environment. So how many of you saw the bears at Ober yesterday? If you looked in the tram, you could kind of look to the side and you could see the bears. Who saw them? They're pretty cool. I thought they were pretty cool. All right, how is this going to tie in to the message? You will find out. So if you have, first thing I want to do, I need you to say something with me. And I need you to believe it, okay? Say, this is not about my past. This is about my future. Because I really want you to get it. I want you to say one time, this is not about my past. This is about my future. All right, so we might have to remind ourselves throughout this message about this, okay? We're going to turn to Hebrews 12:1. Hebrews 12:1 says, therefore, since we are surrounded by a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. How many know that people are watching our lives? And whether or not we call ourselves believers or whether or not we don't, people are watching our lives to see what we're doing. They're watching what we're saying. And let's just be real, they're watching our Facebook statuses. And they do notice if we put something that just seems a little bit off color, a little bit off. Okay? So people are watching. And now we're not supposed to be, worried every moment about what people think of us. That is not healthy, and that's not what God's telling us to do. But I think it is helpful for us to be mindful that there are witnesses to our lives who are watching what we do day by day. So let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. Sin is a weight. Weight is defined as something that's heavy. It's a burden. Sometimes the weight is not even necessarily just a sin, but it could just be something that you're burdened about and something you're going through. It could be a pressure, and it can be an overpowering force. Sometimes it can feel like sin is overpowering us and feeling like the temptation is so strong. But there's hope. Keep with me. A weight is also a force with which a body is attracted towards the earth by gravitation. So all of us have a weight. Okay, it is all increased by slightly 3 to 5 pounds since we arrived on this trip, right? We all have a weight. And what this weight is doing is it's keeping us, by scientific force, it is keeping us here on the earth instead of floating, all the way up to the moon, right? And that is what the weight of sin is doing. It's trying to keep us grounded here on the earth and looking at the earthly things and looking at problems and dealing with stuff like that instead of getting into the presence of God. And instead of being able to be focused on the heavenlies, we have this weight that's keeping us down here on earth. We need to throw off that weight that's trying to keep us down and slow us down and keep us out of the presence of God. So I want to give you a positive spin on sin. We've spent our lives and we've heard, don't do this and don't do that. And I think Christians are getting a really bad rep for that right now. But here's the thing. The reason that we need to throw off this weight is for our own benefit. And God has given us these ideas and these laws and these rules and not to condemn us, not to keep us bound, but to set us free and to give us victory and to give us a way to get to where He wants us to go. And ultimately to get us into His presence, because that's where we belong. Sin easily trips us up. This is why, what did we say? This is not about our past. This is about our future, right? Because we don't need to be condemned because, yes, sin can easily trip us up. And it can come in quickly. And if sometimes we don't notice it. We need to realize that it's easy to fall in sin. That's why we need to do everything that we can to not get tripped up. Sin is like a trap. And that's also why there is no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. Even God says, yes, it's easy to fall into sin, but He's made a way and He's made a path for us to be able to get out of it and not have to be stuck in that trap. So let's talk about bear traps. How many of you like to hunt? All right. How many of you have ever set some type of, not necessarily bear trap? I really hope that at this point you have not tried to truly trap a bear, because that sounds dangerous. But who has set some type of trap before? All right, a few of you. Good. All right. What makes a good trap? And I'll probably need to hear from you later because you probably tell me more than what I've come up with. But a good trap is enticing. There's some type of lure. There's something that makes you want to step into that area, right? And that's the same thing that sin is. We don't easily fall into sin because we see the danger signs. We easily fall into sin because it's enticing. It sounds good. And there's this kind of trend that's going on right now that's supposed to convince all of us that sin is okay and that it's not a problem and that, I can do this little bit. It's more about right now, what can I do to be able to sin as much as I can without falling out of the presence of God, then how close can I get to God and how much can I be like him? It's not about what we can get away with. It's about how much weight can we get off of us so we can be with God and be in his presence. So a good trap is enticing. A good trap is disguised. So right now, there's blurred lines right now between truth and falsehood. There's blurred lines to say, Christians are the ones who are sinning the most by judging everybody. And no, we don't need to judge anybody. Why? Because it's not about our past. It's about our future. Okay? But we need to be more like him and not be disguised, fall into that disguise of the things that are going to hold us back. And it's not just going to hold us back from the presence of God, but it's also going to hold us back in our relationships. It's going to hold us back in our lives. And I think any one of us who has had mistakes and had regrets, and that's every person in this room, when the things that we regret are not the things that we would have done that would have been more, quote, fun or more enticing, more like the world. The things that we regret are those moments that we were not like Jesus, right? I can speak for myself, and I can say the things that I regret the most in my life are the things that I did that were not like Jesus. And so we don't need to fall into those disguises. A good trap is restraining. It will at least slow you down, if not stop you completely. So sometimes you might think, I can do this little thing and I'll be okay. But it's going to, at minimum, slow you down. And it very well could be the trap that stops you completely. And how do I know this? It's because I've lived it. I was thinking today about my praise and worship team when I was in youth group, when exactly you guys' ages. There were 6 of us. 3 of us are serving the Lord. 2 are not serving the Lord, and 1 is like heavily bashing Christians on the internet on a regular basis. Okay, so there's a reality to this. If we get caught into sin and we fall into some of these traps, it can stop us if we don't cry out to Jesus. But I see the hopeless looks on your face. There's hope. There's a better way, okay? So we're not stuck in the trap. But let's talk about the bears at Obear. Obear has created a habitat for those bears. It looked pretty good, for any of you who saw it. They had this little stream thing. They had trees. When I saw them, they were sleeping. They looked quite comfortable, okay? Sometimes captivity can become our new normal. All right? So, write that one down. Captivity can become our new normal. And so those bears were either trapped or they were born into captivity. And so here's one thing. When you get trapped, there's one day someone else who's going to come behind you, be it a friend, be it your child, whatever, who could get stuck in captivity because you were there. Okay? So we have a great responsibility. This is not to be too heavy. Like I told you, I want this to be a positive thing. But we can bring somebody into captivity with us, so we don't want to do that. But when I saw those bears, they were sleeping peacefully. Everything seemed okay, but they were not walking in freedom. They're not walking in what they were created to be. And I'm not coming against the animals in the zoos. I think they're great, but it has relevance to what Satan does and what he's trying to do in our lives. So don't let captivity. That's when I ask God, what is the one thing, if I could have 10 minutes to impart something into your lives that you'll take with you forever, don't let captivity become your new normal. Think about some of your situations in life when you walked away from God, or some of your friends that you saw walk away from God. You don't feel like things are different until all of a sudden you get too far and you feel like you can't come back, which is not true. Never feel that that's not true. When you have these traps, and when you talk about traps and how right now people are thinking that, everyone's just trying to be judgmental. They're just trying to come against me. God's coming against me. God's going to judge me because of what I've done. Remember, God's not the one who set the trap. Always remember who's trapping you. Always remember who wants to hold you back. Satan's the one who's setting that trap. All right? God has not set the trap for you. He has not, declared judgment on you, or, he's not trying to, just beat you into submission and to be more like him. He's loving you into it. Satan is the one who's setting the trap, and because he wants to stop you, and he wants to stop all the people that are going to follow you. So never let captivity become your new normal. So what do you do if you're caught in a trap? You scream for help, right? If you're walking in the woods and all of a sudden you get trapped, you're going to scream. You might just be screaming because you're in pain. You might not even realize you're crying for help. But you know what? Someone's going to show up, right? If they're nearby. Here's the thing. God is always nearby. So if you ever get a trap and you're stuck in a trap of sin, don't let it stop you. And don't try to just sit there and live through it. And don't let it become your new normal. But cry out to Jesus. Ask him to set you free, and he will. This was a cool scripture I found. Psalm 124:7. It says, we escaped like a bird from a hunter's trap. The trap is broken, and we are free. So God has the power to set us free. That's the positive spin on this message, is that no matter what we get into, even if it was not our fault, but we just stepped into it, God has the power to set us free, and he will do that. There's one other cool scripture I found that I want to share with you. It was Proverbs 1:17. If a bird sees a trap being set, it knows to stay away. But these people set an ambush for themselves. So don't set an ambush for yourselves. Don't let Satan set a trap for you, and don't be part of it. Don't let captivity become your new normal. And just be free to be more like Jesus. Walk away from a life of sin. And don't even let the little things that can come into your life lead you to further things. And one thing I don't want to do is give you a list of things that you should and shouldn't do. But I do want to talk to you for a moment about music, because I'm a music person, and because lyrics are near and dear to my heart. Okay? So let's think about your, some of you have had your first crush already, right? All right, no one needs to admit it out in the room. I get it. Okay. All right, some of you have had your first crush. Okay, I have, because I'm married, right? Okay, so we have officially made it sure that I have had my first crush, right? You have your first crush, and then you listen to enough love songs. By the time you listen to 3 of those songs, you're going to think you can't live without that person forever and ever, right? Okay, let's just be real, all right? It's the same thing with other types of music. So what I want to encourage you to do as a worship leader is to listen to songs, and I'm not making rules of right and wrong and which ones fit. What I'm saying is listen to the lyrics, and because it'll draw your heart in a direction. I almost find music can be an indicator temperature of what I'm going through, what I'm struggling with. Because you know what? When I felt a little bit defiant with my parents, some song that was like, oh, well, no one can tell me what to do, was something that really resonated in my heart. And if I would have kept listening to that could have created a seed. And then I would have just been like, you know what? No one can tell me what to do. Okay? My youth pastor can't tell me what to do. My friends can't tell me what to do. It's a seed. Okay? So I just wanted to encourage you to guard what you let in, and don't let anything like that become your lure, and something that'll entice you into a life of sin. Because you know what, the songs these days, they don't just stop at songs about your crush and songs about defiance. They get into a lot of stuff that is just dangerous. We don't need to be glorifying some of the stuff, because you know what, like I heard one the other day that was about clubbing and drugging and all that kind of stuff. And you know what? Eventually, sometimes if you listen to that long enough and it gets a seed in your heart, eventually you want to live that lifestyle. And it's a seed, and it feeds into your heart, and it pulls you in a wrong direction. So I just want to encourage you, but especially those of you who are musical, because people who are musical get pulled stronger. I've watched it, okay? I know for me, I get strong, and the more I listen to songs about God, the more passionate my heart gets, okay? So people who are musical, this is like way more for you than anybody else. Like, it's for everybody, but people who are musical are even more affected by that. So that was just laying you out for the Bearcat message, okay? But thank you guys for letting me share. Thanks for letting me and Aaron be part of your lives, and it means a lot to us, okay?